Hi, Sergey.
Hi.
Thanks for inviting us over to check out your very unique and interesting interior. You know, from the very first moment I walked into the apartment, it was like a wow moment. There's so much to look at. It's the kind of thing the camera just can't fully capture. Let's start by talking about the layout, where we are, how many square feet, and what's connected to what.
Thank you. I really love that wow effect people have when they first walk into this apartment. That's the goal. Right now, we're in the hallway of an apartment that's around 516 square feet. The ceiling height here is about 10 feet. I measured it myself. So, to the left, we have the main room, which doubles as the bedroom and workspace. To the right, there's the bathroom combined with the toilet. There's also another section of the hallway here that serves as storage. It's where the fridge is and so on. And straight ahead, or rather to the right and straight ahead, is the kitchen, which has access to the balcony.
Since we're here, let's stop for a moment. The first thing that caught my eye, besides the grand wardrobe, is this amazing chest of drawers covered in some kind of hide. What kind of masterpiece is this?
So this entire masterpiece was created by my good friend and decorator, Artem. This wardrobe is entirely his handiwork. A few years ago, he started learning the craft. Of course, he began learning this craft, started acquiring, how should I put it, tools and experimenting with different techniques. And this project is where he honed his skills, experimented. It's one of his earliest works. I'm really grateful to him because this is truly beautiful. It sets the entire tone for the interior. Looking at old photos, there used to be open racks here, which made everything look cluttered and messy. But now, with this solution, the space looks completely different. This is just a way to upgrade a regular IKEA chest of drawers. He added these cowhide overlays, which instantly make it look unusual and unique.
Friends, if you didn't know, IKEA furniture can be customized. For example, you can change the fronts and make them unique and stylish. You can also modify IKEA furniture to different sizes. By the way, in my first apartment, where I designed the interior myself, it was my first apartment in St. Petersburg, and I built a custom IKEA unit, but one small cabinet didn't fit in size, so I bought an IKEA front panel, trimmed it down, made a custom-sized cabinet, attached the front, and ended up with a fully customized piece of furniture.
Honestly, I'm just amazed, completely amazed. Artem, if you happen to watch this video, I'm blown away. It's so beautiful. I'd never have thought of this myself. That's what sets creative people apart from the rest of us. Okay, so we've got the wardrobe, the chest of drawers. What else is interesting here? What's this?
The trunk was also made by Artem. He made these shoe cabinets too, which create a sense of symmetry. The mirror is also his work. Look at all these little details, these squares that are glued on. All of this comes together to create a cohesive look, not just in this room, but in others as well. And then you can see this console table with balusters. There are just so many details here.
I also wanted to point out that the plants here greet you right at the entrance, but we'll talk about them separately later. And then there's this beauty over here. Please tell us about it.
Well, now I'm fully immersed in creativity. You could say I'm a free man who's directed all his energy and resources toward art.
I can see in your apartment there's this mix of different styles. For example, this chandelier is stunning. It looks so harmonious here, even though it's not exactly... I mean, your apartment can't really be called classical or modern, but there are so many different details that are beautifully connected. I guess Artem had a hand in that too?
Yes, Artem chose it as well. He's really knowledgeable about this kind of lighting. He's immersed in it, constantly studying the subject. So of course he helps find unique pieces. I started renting it in 2014, and for several years, it was just a rental apartment. Back then, changes started happening because it was completely white. White walls, just an old sofa, and slowly, bit by bit, everything here kind of...
started to fill up.
Yeah, fill up, get redone, and so on. I didn't really interact much with the landlord. Sometimes I'd send him photos like, hey, would you mind if I paint this in this color or that color? And he was always okay with it because basically this was just a simple rental apartment. So he had no objections. At some point, he said he wanted to sell the apartment. And by then, there was already so much stuff here that, of course, it became a moment of... it just dragged on, like some kind of horrible movie playing in my head. So I decided to buy the apartment. The apartment is still under a mortgage, but it already feels much better.
Well, it's mine now, so of course it's a completely different feeling, but what surprised me the most was the sheer number of plants here. Let me explain. Okay, when you think of plants, they're more commonly associated with women, which makes more sense. That's just my layman's perspective. But when it's a young guy with so many plants and they're all so well taken care of, like I look at them and they're all adorable, no dust, so green and thriving.
Guys, if you love plants but travel a lot, here's a little life hack for you. For example, we recently designed an apartment in a skyscraper, and it had a lot of plants because the style was inspired by Bali. But since the owner travels a lot, the plants wouldn't have survived for long. So in reality, they're artificial, but they look incredibly realistic. You honestly can't tell unless you, I don't know, try to taste them or rip them apart. If you look closely, you'll even see yellowed leaves and little dried up spots, just like on real plants. I also have artificial cacti and aloe in my own apartment, and honestly, you can't tell the difference.
So tell me, first of all, where does this love for plants come from? Why are there so many? Was it always this way, or did it come to you later? How did it all happen?
Well, I think my love for plants started back in school because I remember attending a greenhouse club, and I was the only one there. Out of the whole school, I became really good friends with this woman. Her name was Tatiana. I even remember that sometimes when she went on vacation, she would leave me the keys, and I felt like the king of the world walking into the greenhouse with my own key, and I could do whatever I wanted there. I watered, I cared for the plants, I repotted them. Basically, I felt like I was almost the owner of the greenhouse. And since then, naturally, after every lesson or class, I would bring back a cutting of some plant, and soon all my windowsills were packed. Then I added shelves to the windowsills, or rather the windows, and I just kept bringing in more plants, growing them, and so on. I think that's where my love for plants came from.
You know, it's just blinding. This stunning chandelier is so dazzling, and I'm shocked that it's not just one. There are 3 of them, and they're so unique in such unusual spots. Tell me, whose idea was this?
Well, Artem picked them and placed them here, probably based on some compositional elements.
Oh my gosh, there are beads on it too. What kind of chandelier is this?
This is a Casper chandelier. It's not connected to the electrical system. It's purely decorative in this room. It looks amazing when sunlight hits them. It's pure magic. The whole ceiling is filled with these rainbow stars. So if you have a room that gets a lot of sunlight, hanging a Casper chandelier is the best choice because it looks absolutely magical.
Wow, what a cool screen. I didn't even notice it at first. It's really nice. This is also great.
This is Artem's work too. It's one of his first trial pieces. Originally, mirrors were also planned for it, but the screen itself is very cool and functional. First of all, it's also a mirror and it looks visually beautiful. For example, when it was in the hallway, it worked perfectly to hide things like vacuum cleaners or hang clothes behind it. Overall, it's very functional and convenient.
Such a beautiful bookshelf. Tell me about it.
Artem made this one too. He was honing his skills on my project. The cabinet is gorgeous with such cool crown details. Overall, the experiment was a success. I think it looks stunning and is very practical because it's a tall cabinet, and in this room with high ceilings, it fits in perfectly.
Yes. So you and Artem decided not to make major changes, like no remodeling. You just created a beautiful background to fill it with meaningful elements later, right?
Yes. That's why this is a relatively budget-friendly way to design the interior. Again, Artem added molding stickers to the wall and painted it this color. It created a nice contrast and some color zoning in this room, and we continued similar experiments in other spaces.
Okay, tell about the table. What kind of table is it? Did Artem make it too, or is it something else?
No, this table wasn't made by Artem. This is a very old table. One of the first things that came into this apartment when it was still rented. It's really beautiful. I can't name the type of wood, but I love these metal inserts and the cool texture. I've just grown really attached to it. That's why it's my workspace. It's so big that I can also fit trunks, plants, and more on it. So it creates an entire workspace zone thanks to this table.
And what's this interesting chair? Wait, I see a recurring technique here. So Artem made this one too. All right, can we take it out?
Yes, of course, let's take it out. The chair was found in some thrift shop. I remember it had, I don't recall exactly now, but I think it was some sort of fabric upholstery.
By the way, friends, old furniture can be restored and repainted. There are special workshops where you can take your furniture to have it restored, customized, and brought back to its original look. In some cases, the upholstery can be replaced to make the furniture fit better into your future interior. For example, if the upholstery was black, you can change it to green so it matches other elements in your apartment better. This might save you some money, but honestly, in most cases, restoring furniture can cost more than just buying a new piece. But on the other hand, it's about recycling. You're not throwing furniture away, you're preserving, restoring, and reusing it. This helps protect the environment.
We found a restorer, gave him a piece of leather, and he replaced this part. And on the back, Artem himself decorated it with a piece of cowhide. Look, the legs are so beautiful, and the chair has a gorgeous shape.
All right, so now we've moved on to the plants. I see a massive monstera. I have no idea how you manage this. I'm honestly shocked that you're a man and you have so many plants. Tell me, wait, this is a monstera, but what's this?
This is a Strelitzia nicolai. This plant also grew here from, well, something this small. I have a photo of this plant when it only had a couple of leaves. So I'm not sure how many years, but I think it's been adapting here for about 5 or 6 years. The pot hasn't changed since then, so it's still growing in the same old soil. But apparently the nutrients provide enough energy for such abundant growth.
All right, this is honestly something magical. This room is simply magical. Let's go and see what's over there. A typical kitchen, right? First of all, where's the stove?
No more questions. The stove is now hidden in this side cabinet, which wasn't part of the original plan at all. For a long time, this was just an empty corner. Then Artem decided this would be an optimal solution. There's storage here, plus a small gas stove for making coffee, quickly sautéing vegetables, frying eggs, and so on.
So, do you cook more often in the oven or somewhere else?
Yes, here we have the oven, and I use it very often for cooking.
For those who don't cook much, there are portable cooktops. For example, in one of my apartments, I had a single burner portable cooktop that I would take out whenever I needed to heat something up. But keep in mind that the range hood doesn't move with the cooktop. So if you have a portable cooktop, it's best to plan for a range hood and try to cook near it, unless, of course, you don't mind the smells.
Very unusual chairs. They immediately catch your eye. I can't even decide which one I like more. By the way, I already see Artem's touch here, Artem's chess. So tell me about the chairs. Where did you get them and how did they end up here?
This one is a very old chair, one of my favorites. It's very comfortable. You know, it's the kind of chair you'd better not sit in unless you've got a couple of spare hours because it's hard to get up once you're in it. So I can't tell you the brand of this chair. I just really love the texture, pattern, and overall ergonomics of it. This chair is from the Rummers store. It's a rattan chair. I've had my eye on this type of design for a while. You can sit in it too. It's just as comfortable, but in a slightly different way. It was originally meant for the bay window area in the room, so you could sit there and read a book. But now the idea is there's a small table here. So you can gather here, not with a big group, but for now, this setup works fine.
I also noticed a really cool and unusual design choice. And it's a budget-friendly solution too. It's a Fireplace-portal. It also looks amazing. Whose idea was this? Yours or Artem's?
It's Artem's idea, yes. And naturally, he made it himself.
Guys, by the way, even if you don't have a chimney, you can still have real flames and install a fireplace in your apartment or house without one. How does that work? Well, first, there are artificial fireplaces that mimic flames. Second, there are bioethanol fireplaces, where you pour in fuel that doesn't emit carbon dioxide. Plus, it also works as a dehumidifier. So if you live in a temperate climate, it's better to have a humidifier, but if you're in a humid area, it'll actually help by drying the air a bit. And the third option, which I used in my first apartment, is a fireplace portal with candles inside. This way, you still get real flames from the candles, creating an amazing evening atmosphere. So you can totally use this trick too.
By the way, I also noticed you have lanterns, accent lighting, and floor lamps here. That's because...
The more spotlights you have, the richer and more abundant the lighting atmosphere becomes in the room. So if you just have a bare light bulb hanging, that's not good.
You know, I wanted to ask, are these plastic doors? Did you replace them or are they from the developer?
These are plastic doors from the developer. They were white, of course, like everywhere else. The decision to repaint the plastic came, I think, not too long ago, about 2 years ago, and I've grown to love this visual result so much that I can't imagine it any other way now. It really elevates and ties together the overall look of the space.
By the way, guys, if you have white windows, you don't just have to repaint them, you can also laminate them. If you laminate your windows in a different color, they'll look much better than painted ones. So if you want to change your white windows to match your design, say black or graphite, go for lamination. It'll look really stylish.
Yes, I can't even imagine what it would look like if everything was still light.
It would have been so much harder. Honestly, I lived with that for a long time, and now I don't even want to think about it. The same was done on the balcony, all of it repainted, the windowsills, the frames, and now next in line, I think, is the ceiling, because I want to fully complete this picture. Then it'll be super comfortable to be there. The eye will rejoice without stopping.
Yes, I also wanted to talk about the kitchen furniture itself. Look here. So this is somehow made like this. It's not this countertop. It's just solid wood, right? Does it perform well in use?
Yes, it performs well in use. This is actually a very old kitchen. So even if there are some cracks somewhere, it's perfectly normal for wood. I don't see this as a flaw. I see it as its character. Yeah, I'm not into plasticity, artificiality, or, anything fake. I don't accept MDF or other veneers. Even veneers are questionable for me. I'm all for solid wood because it has a special life and a unique atmosphere.
And now we've smoothly transitioned to the balcony, which you absolutely cannot call a balcony. So what do we have here? Let's talk about the finishing. So this is a developer's balcony. And here, as we said, you repainted the window frames, windowsills, and bricks. And you also replaced the floor.
Yes, it was white brick. I'll send you photos so you can see the before and after. Yes, I repainted the bricks. Insulation was done here. This wall is insulated, and so is the floor. And that was enough because it became much warmer than before. In the first few years, when this apartment was rented, nothing here was insulated, and outdoor plants were growing here, junipers, thujas in pots, boxwood, and so on. So in this spot where ivy is now, there used to be wild grapevines. And actually, I also have photos where it completely covered the balcony floor, but that was only a summer story. By fall, it would all fall off, and in winter, it was only slightly warmer than outside. So it was freezing here, and the balcony door was always kept closed. But thanks to some pretty simple insulation work and these transformations, you can now use the balcony year-round. I think this is my favorite place because I hardly ever sit in the kitchen. I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner here, yes. I can even bring my laptop here. It's like a year-round summer veranda where it's just pleasant to be. That's why I really love this spot.
Yeah, that's really great because it doesn't feel like we're in an apartment at all. Wow, what's this little horse here?
The horse came from Bali, so actually, both the horse and this lantern are from there. They make really cool things there. I mean, it's not like cheap Chinese souvenirs. You can find really unique pieces on Bali, things worth bringing back. And the chandelier above you was also made by Balinese artisans.
By the way, we really love Bali, and our company operates worldwide, and we're working on an amazing architectural projects in Bali. So we don't just do design, we also handle architecture. If you didn't know or haven't seen it yet, check out the architecture section on our website. And if you're in Bali, you can order an interior design or architectural project from us because we do amazing work. Every area of your apartment is interesting in its own way. It's definitely worth exploring, but I'm most curious about the bathroom. Shall we go?
Sure, let's go. I'll show you. All right, so we're stepping into the most ordinary bathroom.
I wouldn't call it ordinary, though. So this shelving, did Artem make this as well?
Yes, this is Artyom's work, made specifically for this bathroom because there was an old shelf here. He found it annoying, saying it just didn't work at all. As you can see, I really love these kinds of pots. I'm all about ceramics. It's so aesthetic, so beautiful, especially when it has this aged effect. I found it somewhere old in some old spot because it just feels so alive. As you can see, I repainted the tiles, though there are some defects here after so many years. Originally, there was this weird yellow tile here. And with this new color choice, the plants and leaf tones look so much more striking than they did against that silly yellow backdrop.
Wait, I don't see a sink here.
This is the spot where the sink was supposed to go. It was kind of intended for this, and there was a sink here. But at some point, it was time for a change. The sink was removed because it was annoying too. It was terrible, made of glass, just ugly, and trying too hard to be modern. So the spot was left empty. Then a pot appeared here, and later this table that Artem made. Eventually, it also became a stand for pots. And over the years, it turned out there wasn't much need for a sink. So now I just wash my hands over the bathtub. It doesn't bother me at all.
Your faucet is conveniently placed near the edge, so you don't have to reach far. And honestly, why not? Wow, that's so beautiful. What's this?
That's the toilet.
Wow. No, it's the toilet, and that doesn't surprise me. I'm amazed by everything above it. Hold on, let me take a closer look. These are some kind of branches. I don't get it. Are these branches with flowers growing on them, or are they flowers themselves? What is this?
So yes, I'm into orchids, and many of them are epiphytic plants. These are plants that don't grow in soil, but on tree bark, basically on trees. So this is a kind of imitation of how orchids grow in nature. When I was in Bali, I visited a forest like this, and I just couldn't believe it. Orchids really grow by attaching their roots to tree bark and thrive in the upper levels of the forest.
Wait, how is this all secured?
It's all hung on anchors and metal cables. That's how these branches are suspended. Plants are either directly attached to them or mounted on blocks that are then secured to the branches. Often there are ready-made block plants already attached to a piece of bark.
You know, this is just amazing. Really, how does nature even create something like this?
That's why you ask why I'm into this. Because when I look at it, I realize it's a living organism adapted to certain conditions. It's so magical and so amazing that I just feel overwhelmed when I see a unique and beautiful plant. So people, don't waste your time on nonsense. Pay attention to how beautiful the world is in this way.
By the way, guys, if you didn't know, there are plants that grow upside down. These are regular plants, but they're placed in special pots. There are a few startups around the world doing this, and one of them is actually in California. If you're interested, you can hang the pots from the ceiling or a mesh using hooks and create your own little jungle, just in a more minimalist way, but still beautiful. Let me know if you're curious. I can share the name of that California startup.
Sergey, you know, visiting you has truly inspired me. It made me want to go home, repaint everything, fill my space with plants, and add cowhide everywhere. Absolutely, I really need this. I realize now I need this. So I think what I loved most was how, with minimal investments, I mean financially and with fairly simple techniques, you and Artem managed to create such a cool, interesting space where you want to examine everything, filled with fascinating details. I hope this episode inspires our viewers and subscribers too, because you can take note of everything we discussed today and apply it in your own space. Even starting with small changes, one little action can trigger an entire chain of events, right? So be sure to get inspired and leave comments about what you loved most in this interior. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's always nice to have guests. Thank you.
Great. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thank you for watching this video to the end, and we'll see you in the next episodes. Bye-bye.